How's it going, everybody? I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. I'm a mess, and today I'll be discussing some of the best sports animes that I've seen. I'll be discussing 5 of the best sports animes and how they compare to each other. Just so you guys know, I am a huge fan of basketball, so I have seen more basketball animes compared to the other sports. So, because basketball is my favorite, it will have a majority of the slots on this list. The first anime I'll be discussing is one of the founding fathers of sports anime and manga, Slam Dunk. The Slam Dunk manga came out back in 1990 and ran for 6 years, so it wasn't a long series compared to some of the other mangas. But it did what it set out to do, and that was introduce its readers to the world of basketball. The author, Takehiko Inoue, has several panels where he inserts himself into the story to explain simple rules and terminology, which to a basketball fan like myself was pointless, but for someone who's never followed the sport, it would have been very helpful to have the terminology explained to them. The series follows a high school delinquent named Sakuragi Hanamachi, who has been rejected by 50 girls in his first year of high school alone. He meets a girl named Akagi Haruko who notices his unbelievable athletic abilities and asks him if he plays basketball. Sakuragi tries to look cool by saying he's a basketball genius. She introduces him to her older brother, Akagi Takenori, the captain of the Shohoku high school basketball team. Takenori instantly recognizes that Sakuragi is an amateur who has never played basketball, but he does have the athletic trick to dominate under the basket. Sakuragi also learns that Haruko likes the other new first year star, Rukawa Kaede. Sakuragi forms a rivalry with Kaede in an attempt to win Haruko's heart. After a few close practice matches, the team gets their star point guard, Miyagi Ryota, back in true sports anime fashion by having him come back from a suspension after he brutally beat up a dude who tried to bully him. What makes Slam Dunk so unique is that the entire show doesn't revolve around basketball. It also goes into the team's personal and love life. The team has some off-court issues and they struggle to keep everything together and avoid getting into trouble. The story is well thought out and focuses on the player's life off the court, while the games were intense, realistic, and they drew you in till the final buzzer. Although the anime's poor animation took the intensity out of it, Slam Dunk has done so much for sports anime and manga, it also caused a surge in popularity for basketball in Japan, and is believed to have saved the Japanese Basketball Association. I'd give Slam Dunk a 9 out of 10 with its influence on sports manga and character development as being its strongest points. Next, I will be talking about Kuroko's basketball. Kuroko's basketball follows Kagami Taiga as he moves from America to Japan and starts his high school basketball career. He joins the Seidan High School basketball team, a team that was just formed in the previous year and somehow managed to become one of the top teams in the respected region. Kagami then meets Kuroko Tetsuya, a first year like him who played for Teiko Middle School, the most powerful middle school team in Japan. The players were so good they got the nickname the Generation of Miracles, and Kuroko was their sixth man. The story follows them as they try to beat all 5 members of the Generation of Miracles and win the championship. What makes Kuroko so unique is its lack of realism. The players all have some type of special abilities from mimicking other players to being able to make insane trick shots. The story was also hilarious with Kuroko's ability allowing him to misdirect people's attention away from him to sneak around the court. Kuroko himself is a horrible basketball player, but his lack of presence and misdirection ability allows him to freely move around the court unguarded and change the direction of passes to move the ball around the court. Kagami is a natural athlete with amazing jumping abilities that allows him to overpower defenders and dunk the ball with relative ease. During the end of its run, Kuroko's basketball managed to become one of the top 3 shonen mangas as well as one of the best sports anime or manga of all time. I personally preferred the anime over the manga because of how good the animation was. All of the effects that came with the players' abilities enhanced the show visually and made following the games more exciting. For example, whenever one of the players got serious, they usually got this twinkle in their eye or have their body surrounded by an aura. It helps whenever the story shifts to a serious tone. Similarly to Slam Dunk, Kuroko's basketball lasted only 6 years, but it managed to gain a massive following and show that sports anime and mangas don't need to be realistic to be good. I rate Kuroko's basketball as a 9 out of 10. It's just as good as Slam Dunk. My next entry is not as good as the previous ones, not because it's bad, but because I feel like the author didn't really know the sport well, just some misconceptions about it and made an entire series based off of that misconception. The series I'm talking about is Ahiru no Sora. Now, I've only seen the anime, I haven't read the manga yet, and I doubt I will. The series follows Kurumatani Sora as he tries to form a basketball team at Kuzuryu High School. He was a short player, so he never got a chance to play back in middle school, so he was really excited to get a chance to play in high school. But when he met the Kuzuryu basketball team, he found out that they were a fake club run by a bunch of thugs who were just using the club as an excuse to hang out. The leader of the group was Hanazono Momoharu. He hates basketball and forbids anyone from playing. Sora, unwilling to give up on his dreams of playing in an inter-high national tournament, challenges him to a basketball game. The reason he challenged him to the game was because he needs to make it to the inter-high national tournament, because of a promise he made with his mother, to become as good of a basketball player as her. His mother was a former pro in the women's league, and potentially the best female player in Japan. She trained Sora to play around his shortness and become an excellent shooter. Unfortunately, she fell ill and was hospitalized. Sora wants to make it to the inter-high tournament before she succumbs to her illness. He managed to convince Momoharu to play him in a game. If Sora wins, he joins the team and gets to practice on the court. If Momoharu wins, Sora has to give up on playing basketball. Of course, Sora ends up winning and begins forming the official Kuzuru High basketball team. As time goes on, Momoharu begins to admire Sora's work ethic and drive to play despite his height. Momoharu hates basketball because no matter how much he practiced, he could never make a shot. But he slowly starts to love basketball again thanks to Sora. Momoharu does have a twin brother named Hanazono Chiaki. Chiaki and Sora had already met each other earlier when Sora got jumped and Chiaki just sat there and watched. Chiaki, like Momoharu, hates basketball because he doesn't like being told what to do. He also hates quitters, which he countered a lot of in middle school, so he gave up on the sport despite being a talented player. The show is similar to Slam Dunk because it also follows the player's personal life and how it affects them on the court. However, the author, Takashi Hinata, clearly doesn't understand the game of basketball because of his constant use of the short people problem meme. Sora's height is constantly being referenced as the team's weakest point, when in basketball, height isn't a factor, but player knowledge and athleticism are. It doesn't matter how tall you are if you're smart and have special skills to help you move the ball and score. Sora is not a bad player because he's short. He's bad because he can't stay on the court for the full game, not physical enough on defense, and makes poor decisions in the passing game. The fact that the author ignores all of those flaws and focuses solely on height triggers me so much. This causes some of the games to lose value because the commentary is completely inaccurate and doesn't paint a clear enough picture of how the game is going. The only upside is how funny the characters are, and the animation is actually really good. I have to give Ahiru no Sora an 8 out of 10. It's a good story with poor sports knowledge. Now, the next two animes are among my favorite animes of all time. First, I will discuss Haikyuu. I've also only seen the anime and I will continue to do so until the series finale. Hinata Shoyo loves to play volleyball. He was inspired by a famous high school player who was nicknamed the Little Giant. Despite being short, he was considered to be one of the best high school players because of his incredible athleticism. Hinata, also being a short person, idolized him and wanted to play just like him. Hinata's middle school didn't have a male volleyball team, so he practiced with the girls' team or by himself. In his final season, he managed to convince enough people to join to compete in their first tournament. However, his team got paired up against Kageyama Tobio, the king of the court. Kageyama is considered to be the best center in middle school, but he has a bad reputation for being incredibly toxic on the court. Hinata ended up losing the match but was still motivated to play in high school and hopefully run into Kageyama again and beat him. Hinata joins Karasuno High, the Little Giants' former team, only to find that Kageyama also enrolled in the school. Karasuno was a former powerhouse who has fallen on hard times, not reaching the national tournament since the Little Giants era. Hinata hopes to bring the school back to its former glory along with Kageyama. What Haikyuu does so well is its character interactions and how each player supports each other. The characters are all lovable and exciting to watch with not a single dull moment in the series. There are so many emotional moments with the team developing a new identity around Hinata and Kageyama, while the older players try not to get outshined by them. Haikyuu also did a very good job of showing how the game of volleyball is played without overwhelming the viewer or leaving them alone to figure out what's going on. Also, the show does an amazing job of having the team adapt to different opponents' playstyle, as well as targeting each other's weaknesses and changing their playstyle in order to win the game. Unlike Ahira no Sora, Haikyuu doesn't focus too much on Hinata's height. It focuses more on his athleticism and instincts, or his natural talent. Of course, Hinata wasn't an amazing player from the get-go. He had the support of Kageyama and his teammates. He's slowly improving with each game and gaining the experience he was sorely lacking. The series has been getting better with each new season, and I look forward to seeing how it ends. I give Haikyuu a 9.5 out of 10. Finally, my favorite sports anime. Before I let everyone know what it is, I'd like to mention a couple of honorable mentions. First, I'd like to mention One Out, a baseball anime revolving around a player who joined a professional team with a contract that pays him the better he plays. This show was more of a psychological anime instead of a sports anime, so I left it off this list. Second honorable mention goes to Hajime no Ippo, a boxing anime that I've yet to see. I've heard so many great things about this series that I know it could easily be my third favorite sports anime or manga, but I've yet to see it, so I'll just leave it as an honorable mention. Lastly, I would like to mention Keijo, a sports anime made for true men of culture. Now, since the show revolves around a made up sport, I decided to leave it off of this list, but it's definitely worthy of being within the top 5 best sports anime. Now, for my favorite sports anime, Ace of the Diamond. Ace of the Diamond follows Sawamura Eijun as he tries to lead his middle school team to the championship. However, they are eliminated in the first round against a relatively small school. His teammates were expecting to lose primarily because they were not a good team. Sawamura, as the captain, felt greatly responsible for the loss and even slapped the opposing team when they made fun of them. During the game, his last pitch caught the eye of a recruiter for Sado High School, a relatively powerful school that's in desperate need of a pitcher. Sawamura goes to Sado in hopes of becoming the ace pitcher and leading them to the national tournament. When he gets to the school, he sees just how different a big school's program compares to his small school. He also meets Furuya Satoru, a strong-arm pitcher who quickly gets the coaching staff's attention. Furuya and Sawamura become rivals for the ace position and grow together throughout the series with the help of the highly skilled catcher Miyuki Kazuya. One of my favorite things about this series is how the players develop. The first years don't come in as the best players, they develop into it. The team has some extremely talented players except for the pitcher position, which is why Sawamura and Furuya are the two favorites. Also, Sawamura is completely inexperienced in baseball terminology, which allows the author to explain the game of baseball in a completely natural way. Also, the character's development doesn't happen overnight. The show is a little more realistic with how long it takes for a player to get good. Also, the Ace of the Diamond shows how a player's mentality can affect their gameplay, with one mistake causing them to spiral out of control and into a slump. The best part about this series is that it has a sequel series that takes place in their second year, with the third years leaving and new players joining. I love this series because it's funny, emotional, takes its time with the characters' development, which lets the viewers grow more attached to them, and is realistic with how sports are played, with the team changing and developing as the season goes on. I give Ace of the Diamond a 9.7 out of 10. In terms of general anime, it's nearly perfect. But in terms of sports anime, I honestly think it is perfect. It is absolutely amazing. These have been my top 5 favorite sports anime. I'm sure there are better ones out there, I just haven't seen them yet. If you have any suggestions on some I should watch, let me know in the comment section down below. I'd like to thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope to see you in the next one, and remember to keep having fun. See ya!